everybody. You're listening to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. That's me. Thank you for joining me today, making me just a small slice of your day. You know that I appreciate you. We have plenty to get into on the show today. Game 1 of the NBA Finals, a blowout. Shouldn't be surprised by that one. Not because it's unsurprising that Golden State blew out Cleveland, but we've just had such a bizarre number of blowouts in these playoffs that, quite frankly, there is no reason to be surprised by blowouts anymore. When you lose in these playoffs, you lose big. You have very few 2-win games, 3-win games, or 2-point, 3-point games for wins. I mean, you lose, you're losing by a landslide. That's the style of the modern NBA. That's where we're at now, and the rest of us are just going to have to roll with it. I'm going to talk a little bit about the best of what Golden State had to offer in that game, which was a lot of Sean Livingston. The best of what Cleveland had to offer that game, which was Matthew Dellavedova being a dirty below-the-belt puncher, and other things. Also, we have to talk about Baylor some more. Just the more things that come out of that, the more depressing it gets, but at the same time, like the more hopeful it gets, because I think that there's an opportunity for real change in the way that we do college football, and the way that we structure punishment and we structure putting football above actual things in real life, which is that hopefully we stop doing that. That as much as all of us love football, I think it's better for the game when the game is a part of life and not that the game is life. And there's a big difference there. But before we jump into any and all of those things, let's talk about the platforms. Where can I find you? Where can you find us? AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. You can search us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. You can go to all of those sites from our main website, hotnewstalkradio.com. We stream live 24/7, 365. And you can get to all of our social media sites from there. You can stream our show on Facebook.com, and we stream all of our local shows, including this show, Clutch with Keon Rose, on YouTube. So you can go back and watch our archived episodes, our classic episodes. We never call them old. You can also check us out in the TuneIn Radio app. I highly recommend that. That is the TuneIn Radio app. Again, check us out. And you know what? Give us a favorite. Follow us. Press play. You'll have Hot News Talk Radio everywhere you go. So just some game 1 analysis. And I think that everybody was expecting a game to be much better than what it turned out being. I did personally. I picked the Warriors to win this series in 5. But I didn't think that game 1 was going to be this lopsided. I certainly thought the later games in the series would be lopsided, because as these coaches start to work and figure each other out, then whoever it is that has the advantage understands where that is. Well, Steve Kerr figured out what his advantage was almost instantly, which was let me find it. As Nate Scott on USA Today pointed out on For the Win, the USA Today blog, which if you're not reading that, you should probably get on that. It's very good. The Warriors had a game plan, and the game plan was simple: find Kyrie Irving and score on him. And they did that, and they did that a lot. Okay, and it didn't matter who Kyrie was being guarded by. Steph didn't shoot particularly well, but Harrison Barnes scored on Kyrie pretty willingly. Sean Livingston feasted on Kyrie, and this is a big problem. I think that we all thought that the guy that would be unplayable would be Kevin Love. Because in pick and roll situations, like, that guy looks lost in space. Just completely out of sorts. I didn't think, at least not this early in the series, that the guy that you couldn't play, not because he can't score, but because he can't defend, was Kyrie. Because if you remember last year's NBA Finals in Game 1, before Kyrie tore up his knee, Kyrie was playing pretty decent defense. And I didn't think, he could do that for a whole series. But Kyrie was playing pretty decent defense up until that point. And he destroyed his knee, and that was the end of that for that series. And Dellavedova actually came out and did an even better job guarding Steph than Kyrie did. And then surprisingly played decent enough offense to make his existence on the floor make sense. But when it came down to Kyrie yesterday, Kyrie did not give Cleveland enough offensively to justify his existence on the floor, because whenever the Warriors could find him to score on him, they did. And they did it in every number of ways. Pick and roll, why not? Post up, why not? ISO, why not? Cutting backdoor cuts, why not? Every form of basic basketball maneuvering that you could use to score on another person. They found Kyrie, they sought him out, they scored lots of points on him. And that game got out of hand, even though Steph and Clay didn't play well. Now, if you can imagine what would happen if either of those guys decided to show up to this series, it's over. Because they did. They did for like 2 minutes in the fourth quarter. Clay and Steph stepped up in a large way, slammed the door on Cleveland entirely. Because there was a point there where it was like, this game's out of hand, but Cleveland could make it look nice. Then they just slammed the door on even those aspirations, and that game was just ridiculous. But it seems to be that's an adjustment that now Tyronn Lue and the Cavs are going to have to make, and I imagine much sooner than they ever thought they were going to have to make it. Because it still doesn't change the fact that mentally, Kyrie Irving's not a defender. We were talking about it yesterday. He doesn't have the mindset. There's some people in this world who have just a different mindset than others. I'm not even going to say it's wrong, because Kyrie's got an offensive mindset. He plays basketball beautifully. Offensively, it's a joy to watch Kyrie Irving play, especially in the fourth quarters of games. That guy is clutch as all get out. But defensively, his mind is not there. Yet I understand this, because I see this all the time in life, okay? I am a person that I do things on a very small scale, okay? If I want to get a big project done, I do it in very tiny pieces to get it done. I don't focus on big, I focus on little. Don't have that mindset. That's why I don't like leading people. I think leaders need to have a broad mindset, be able to see a wide picture. My girlfriend, she sees things wide. That makes sense to her. That's why I think she's good at leading people. You know, she sees the wide picture of things. I just don't see it. I just don't see it. You know what I mean? And that is a difference in our mentalities, none being right or being wrong, but then you have to compensate for that. That awareness is something you need to cover up for. And Cleveland has got to find a way to cover up for this, because Kyrie doesn't have that defensive mindset. Okay? It's not defensive versus offensive. You can have both. You could be a person that sees big picture and little picture. You could be a person that sees offense and defense. That ability, that instinctual ability, that grinding ability. Matthew Dellavedova, he's got a defensive mindset. Unfortunately, he's going around punching people in the nether regions. But, you know, have we ever seen this much nut punching in basketball history? Like, I feel like this is the most concentrated amount of below the belt punching I have seen in my life, really. Like in my life, in recent basketball history, there is so much below the belt punching. I went on YouTube and looked up a montage of it, and all that happened was it made me sad. And it's not fun. You get the little reminders in life that no, you know, that's not a fun feeling to have. And I'm telling you, this is the biggest stage. I fear for the children. Kids cannot go around in these streets believing that that's something that's hilarious. It's not hilarious. Stop the violence. Stop it. And that was the biggest play that Cleveland had to offer. That's the only thing that I remember that they did last night. Because we're going to need now, honestly, we're going to need one of those LeBron James takeover performances that he said that he doesn't have to do anymore because he's got two great teammates in Love and Irving, except that those guys aren't pulling their weight because both of those guys can't defend worth a lick. So something's going to have to tip the scales in the other direction. It's going to need to be LeBron James. And I don't know if he has it in him to do that, to put this whole team on his back. He hasn't had to do it in so long. You know, the games pop up where he has to. He had to in Miami for a couple of games. Remember Boston? They were about to be eliminated, and everyone's talking again about, oh boy, it looks like the Miami Heat. They're not mentally strong and all of that stuff. And then LeBron comes out. He doesn't joke. He doesn't kid. He doesn't play. He doesn't smile even. And LeBron likes to laugh. Like LeBron was in a romantic comedy. I mean, the guy likes to laugh. He likes jokes. He likes fun. That game was not fun for LeBron James. That game was work. And boy, did he come to work. That's my favorite single player performance that I have ever watched in my life. Okay, I'd love to say that the Kobe Bryant 81 points was, but I didn't watch that live. Okay, I don't live in Los Angeles. And this was before League Pass and all that. I didn't watch that game live. I watched the highlights on SportsCenter. And I've watched the game since on YouTube and other places that you can find that, but I didn't watch it live. I got to watch LeBron James put down 63 points on Boston by himself live. And that, I still remember his face when he played that game. We're going to need one of those from LeBron if Cleveland's going to have a chance to win a game in this series, by the way, not to win the series, because they don't have a chance to win the series. The reason why the Thunder were able to give the Warriors fits was that they had superior length, they had superior talent at a lot of positions, and then they did the Warriors to the Warriors. They played the best basketball against them when they were passing the ball, when they were moving it around. That team was unpredictable. That team's hard to stop. And then the way they get after you on defense, that's tough. That's tough to deal with. What you end up having with the Thunder there is that they relied too much on Russell and KD in those last three games. And that's why they lost. And you're looking at the Cavaliers, whose best team, not statistically, but like in terms of offensive firepower, their best team is built like the version of the Thunder that was the least effective against the Warriors. This team's not designed to pass the ball around a ton. Like they had a few of those against the Hawks, against the Pistons. But this team is by and large, let's ISO LeBron. Let's ISO Kyrie and then find Kevin Love in the corner for three. Post up Kevin Love every now and then. Feed the big fella. That's what you have occasionally. I mean, by and large, this team is just ISO. They play a lot of ball-dominant basketball. Well, if you don't move the ball from side to side, you're not beating Golden State. If you're not setting screens, you're not beating Golden State. The Cleveland's going to need to change up their whole game plan. Their whole game plan. You're listening to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. I got a bit of sad news to talk about because I'm a huge boxing fan, and Muhammad Ali is on life support, and reportedly his family doesn't think that he's doing very well. And so I guess this is just a time to take a look back at Muhammad Ali and Muhammad Ali's career, because Muhammad Ali had a great boxing career. Even his losses are legendary. Even his losses leave you something to talk about, whether it's the Liston fight with the Phantom Punch that, people are like, did Liston take a dive on that one? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. There are people there that saw the fight that said the punch was so fast that it was you would have to be looking really close to see it. And I think that makes sports very different from that era to this era, where we see everything and we see everything in high definition. There's no ambiguity to the stories that came from there. Back in the day, you had to be there to see it. Otherwise, you just got the picture and the newspaper, and maybe you heard it on the radio. But if you wanted to see it, you had to be there. You had to be there. We don't have that anymore. And it's changed that kind of mythos that you can have about a single guy. Like Muhammad Ali got to be a myth and a legend in a lot of ways because the people that saw him were the people that really got him. And then everybody else is just like doubting. You know, you doubt him before the Liston fight. Doubt him before the Liston rematch. You doubt him before Joe Frazier. I mean, there's so much there. And now you've got Muhammad Ali, where the man was as tough as nails throughout his entire life. The one fight that he had where he broke his jaw against Ken Norton. He broke his jaw against Ken Norton and then gutted through the pain and finished it out. I mean, when you talk about sports performances, great sports performances, that is what you're talking about. The toughness of Muhammad Ali. And it's a little unfair because you want to hold everybody to that standard, because when someone is being called great, we try and hold everybody to that same standard. You remember when LeBron James cramped up against the Spurs a few years ago in the finals, and everyone is just like, why did he just play? I mean, you can't move with the cramp. But we have this idea of toughness in our minds that if the guys we're rooting for, if the guys that we are willing to call great can't be as tough as the guys that we have always called great, I don't know if you could be great. Whether or not that's fair. In the case of LeBron James on that play and that series of plays at the end of the game, it wasn't fair. Because playing through a cramp is not an issue of playing through pain. If it was an issue of playing through pain, I actually believe that LeBron would have done it. I don't know if you've ever cramped, but playing through a cramp is not an issue of pain. It's an issue of your muscles just don't want to move today. Right now, they're like, there's not enough water for this machinery to work. You better figure out something else to do. You can't walk. You cannot walk. Okay, that there. We attribute all of that toughness to guys like Muhammad Ali, that when you want to be one of the greats, you've got to be in that stratosphere. And while it's unfair, it's pretty amazing that that's a standard that you can even set. Muhammad Ali displayed a lot of toughness. Got into the fights with Joe Frazier, the Thrilla in Manila, where basically he took a ton of punishment. A ton of punishment. I mean, you remember the rope-a-dope. Stopping George Foreman in Africa took a ton of punishment. Lost to Joe Frazier in what many people call the fight of the century, took a ton of punishment. The Thrilla in Manila, he took a ton of punishment. And I mean, a lot of people figured, the Thrilla in Manila is interesting because Muhammad Ali, a lot of people thought he might have lost that fight if Joe Frazier's eyes didn't swell shut in the 15th round. I mean, Muhammad Ali is from an era gone by of boxing where, or not just boxing, because I can lump MMA into this too, where a lot of talking happens, but then he backed up the talking. You know what I mean? Like we have a lot of fun with guys like Floyd Mayweather, with guys like Conor McGregor and Chael Sonnen, guys that love to just talk, just yak it. But Muhammad Ali was out there in the heavyweight division, taking brutal poundings from guys. And even when he lost, his fights were legendary. Now that is amazing. So thoughts and prayers out to the family of Muhammad Ali. I hope the champ gets better. Lost a lot of his career because of what he believed morally. Went to jail because he refused to fight in Vietnam. We'll talk some Baylor. Talk some Ole Miss coming up next.
I'm blowing everything up. We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds. We'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240. You and I know that real men are prepared for anything. You know what I'm talking about because you're a Take Charge guy. Everyone's talking about Grimm's Tactical, featuring first responder gear, survival gear and equipment, Voodoo Tactical, Leapers. For personal protection, Grimm's Tactical features non-lethal personal protection gear, AR/AK parts, knives, canning and dehydrating equipment. If you hike and camp, Grimm's Tactical has got what you're looking for, bags and packs. And for your side piece, concealed carry holsters for men and women. Plus, Grimm's Tactical carries a wide variety of freeze-dried food. Wise Mountain House, Backpacker's Pantry, Grimm's Tactical, where law enforcement shops, Safari Lane, Blackhawk, 511. First responder gear at Grimm's Tactical. Grimm's Tactical, 8115 East Brainerd Road, in the shopping center next to the Walmart Marketplace. Look for the Mighty Mini U-Haul office. Grimm's Tactical is right next door. Grimm's Tactical, 8115 East Brainerd Road.
Just imagine not a cloud in the sky. It's the perfect day on the water. You could be enjoying boating with friends or wetting your line to catch a fish. Or maybe it's just you and that special someone on a sunset cruise. All of this without the hassle of owning a boat, with your membership in the Carefree Boat Club. As you relax and spend time with the ones you care about, you have the peace of mind of knowing you're a member of the Carefree Boat Club. Weekends were made for relaxing and being hassle-free, just like the Carefree Boat Club. Let us take the worry out of boat ownership. No matter if you enjoy fishing, skiing, cruising the lake, or maybe even an overnight adventure, we have a boat for you at the Carefree Boat Club. Start making memories today. Call 423-619-7156 to join. Boating season is here, so do not wait. Call now, 423-619-7156. Carefree Boat Club is located at the Harbor Lights Marina, 9718 Hickson Pike.
Finding just the right place to live can be a daunting task. Stop your search. In Chattanooga, the place to live is Cross Creek Villas for under $1,000 and available for immediate move-in. You can enjoy this 2-bedroom split layout, over 1,000 square feet, 9-foot ceilings, an extra large patio or balcony. And don't forget to ask about their preferred employer program. Cross Creek Villas is a gated community, offering a 24-hour fitness facility, a beautiful pool and hot tub, and Cross Creek Villas is pet friendly. Stroll the pet park with your best friend and enjoy the free use of their business center and clubhouse. Plus, if you mention you heard this on the radio, your application fee is free. Cross Creek Villas, close to downtown off of Highway 58. Go to crosscreekchattanooga.com. That's crosscreekchattanooga.com or call 894-0446. That's 894-0446. Redefine the way you live at Cross Creek Villas. Go to crosscreekchattanooga.com or call 894-0446. Cross Creek Villas.
Any spotty showers will diminish through the nighttime. Muggy overnight again, lows into the upper 60s. For Saturday, another very warm, humid day. Highs upper 80s. A few late day showers and storms will push back in, with showers and storms more likely Saturday night through Sunday. Highs closer to 80. Check out the beefy, crunch, and cheesy double beef burritos at Taco Bell. You asked for them, and now they're back. Get one each for just $1 at your neighborhood Taco Bell restaurants. And I'm 1412 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Hoare. On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio with your Hot News Now update. New information has been released about a crash that involved a Tennessee highway patrolman crashing into a motorcyclist, which killed him. The final report says that the trooper was being inattentive, which led up to the crash. The trooper tested negative for drugs and alcohol, and the THP says the trooper is now on personal leave due to the crash. It's not clear exactly what the inattentiveness was due to. We'll keep you updated. 2 men were arrested on Thursday on methamphetamine charges. One man was from Mexico, one man was from Kentucky. Police say they were transferring drugs from Atlanta to Dalton. $40,000 worth of methamphetamine was seized from a truck which they had. The driver was identified as a 36-year-old from Kentucky. The passenger was identified as a 24-year-old from Mexico. Both are charged with possession of methamphetamine. And Mustard Tree Ministries has dropped its plan to build a community of tiny homes for the homeless in Ottawa. Barry Kidwell, the executive director, announced his plan to withdraw the application of the ministry. If it's going on in the Tennessee Valley, it's going on Hot News Talk Radio.
Hot News Talk 1240.
So there's a lot of things coming up, a lot of conversations that open up in the wake of this entire scandal at Baylor, whatever you want to call it, where you had, the president, athletic director, football coach covering up sexual assault at the campus. Sexual assaults were reported and then ignored and stifled, actively stifled. Now, a lot of Baylor alumni, the Alumni Association, would like the Pepper Hamilton report. That's the name of the report ordered by the Baylor House of Regents. The Pepper Hamilton report to be released. They would like that to happen. And I get, what do you have to lose if you're Baylor to release that now? You've already fired all the people that you think are involved in this, right? So to hold back the video would be, or not the video, to hold back the report would be to protect somebody. You do not have anyone to protect. You fired the most important person possibly in the history of that school outside of its founder because of what he did for your school, putting your school back on the map again. Because let's face it, putting your school back on the map in football is the same as putting your school back on the map, period. The amount of millions of dollars that he made that school in football is ridiculous. But when you combine that with the number of admissions that increase, the increase in going to that school as a result of that school being a popular household name, is even more incredible. Okay, when you have a reason to talk Baylor football, that is a reason to talk about Baylor as a school in general. Art Briles brought Baylor back from the dead. Okay, he made Baylor what it is right now. They built a giant football stadium. And I've driven through Waco before. That town is plain and humdrum. And then you pass the football stadium. And that thing is a thing of art. And Art Briles brought that to Baylor. Okay, he brought a Heisman Trophy winning number 2 overall draft pick to Baylor. They're in the conversation for a title every year. He brought that to Baylor. You fired the most important man in the history of that school, outside of the founder of that school. So what are you hiding from? You got to release that report. You've got nothing to protect now. Let that out. Let's just get it out of the way. Like, the longer you wait, whatever we read, it's going to be worse. It's going to be worse than whatever it is, and it's already terrible. Release the report. And it's interesting, right? Because this conversation of Baylor and what's happening with Ken Starr is fascinating on one level, and then what's happening with Art Briles is also fascinating on another level. On the first level, Ken Starr resigned, and we know he's full of it. Okay, he's full of it. He talked about his conscience as being a reason that he resigned, and he wanted to be transparent with people, and if he were still the chancellor at the school or the president at the school, he couldn't be transparent the way that he needed to be, so he resigned and stepped down. in order to answer questions, in order to be transparent, which we should have seen already as an obvious media ploy. Right? Just to shine up his image a little bit, which it very obviously was that, but it's just so much worse than what we thought it was, because he was being interviewed by news station in Texas. And at one point in the interview, Ken Starr was confronted about an email that showed that, he did know, an email that was sent to him by a student who was allegedly raped, and that student never heard back from Ken Starr. Okay. And Ken Starr starts to answer the question by saying, well, I didn't see the email. I don't recall seeing the email. And there was a woman with him. Her name is Marie Spaeth. And Marie Spaeth told him, stop talking. Stop talking right now. She takes him off to the side and basically coaches him. She takes him outside and coaches him, and he comes back and he starts to answer that question a little bit differently. And he starts saying things along the lines of, well, I don't think I ever got the email. I would have responded to such an email. And then he starts looking for her to see if he's saying the right thing. Now, she said that she was a family friend. That's how she got into the interview and wasn't, no one was suspicious of her. You say you're a family friend. Like, I'm not going to sit here and search your credentials. This is an interview that's being put on by Ken Starr in his home. Well, you come to find out, Marie Spaeth is a crisis manager, basically. She helps people like Ken Starr in a position where they have ruined their reputation, or their reputation has been ruined, and coaches them through jumping the media hoops to say the right thing, not say the wrong thing, et cetera, et cetera. So Ken Starr saying that he's stepping down to be more transparent couldn't be anything further from the truth when you hire somebody to teach you what not to say. That's not transparency. Okay, look, it's all right if you want to fix your image, but don't fix your image at the expense of the truth. You're already fired. You were president, you're not president. You already stepped down. You were then chancellor. You're now not chancellor. You just had to slowly get dropped down from stuff. And now you're just the law professor there. All right. And people are saying, look, we just wanted you to go after rape cases like they mattered. That's it. This is the same man that tried to go after Bill Clinton and impeach him for his alleged affair with Monica Lewinsky. What people are asking from you, Ken Starr, is to go after alleged rapists as hard as you went after Clinton. Because this is actually more important. This is more important than that. By a very large margin. Okay, so that's one side of this story, which is that Ken Starr, we knew he was full of it yesterday. He's even more full of it today. And the other side of the story is the whole second chance conversation that you have. And I'm not opposed to second chances. I start there. I don't think you just justify letting people go free, letting people get away with breaking the rules, breaking the law, just being immoral in general. I don't think you let that slide in the name of second chances. Okay, so this is like a 2-layer deep story, because on the one layer, this is partially what got Art Briles in trouble, was guys would have troubled pasts, and Art Briles thought that he could fix them. Art Briles thought that he could make it better. He wanted to give everybody a second chance, and he would take your cast-offs from other schools, guys that had gotten in trouble with the law and gotten in trouble with the school previously, and try to reform them at Baylor. Which I have no problem with that. But there's a reason why at least in the SEC, I can't speak for every conference, but at least in the SEC, there's a reason why the SEC does not allow one school to pick up a player who has been released by one school, doesn't allow another school to pick them up if the reason why they were released was sexual assault or domestic violence. Because those particular crimes tend to have a pattern, tend to have a history. If you do it once, you're more than likely to do it again. And again, that's not to say that nobody can be fixed. I'm all for second chances, but there's got to be some rehabilitation in between chance 1 and chance 2. We don't just jump straight from 1 to 2 because you haven't learned anything and you've essentially been bailed out. All right, so we're talking about now on the second level, Art Briles getting a second chance somewhere. Like, if Art Briles had to do any of this differently, would he actually do it differently? I think that this media storm is a lot to deal with. I think he understands the weight of this. I would still like to see him go through some kind of training, some kind of something to show, yeah, I get it. What I did was wrong. He's going to have to admit that first. What he did was wrong. And then something in regards to some kind of training, something where Art Briles is sat down and just talked to about stuff that he already knows, which is that if someone says that they've been raped and you are a head coach of football at a school, you must report it. You have to report it. You don't have a choice. That's not optional, man. It isn't. So you got Art Briles. Does Art Briles get a second chance? Because what happened at Baylor is pretty awful. Is there a second chance there for him? I think that there should be. But I don't think that we just jump from chance 1 to chance 2. And anybody who thinks that, you know, let him coach again. I'm sure he's learned his lesson. Like, yeah, but let him prove it though. Because I want to know personally, as a fan of football and a person with a conscience, that this is not going to happen again at another school, especially in the wake of the fact that we're seeing this happen at other schools with other coaches. Okay? And while there is some justice in the world that Art Briles can be released despite being such a fantastic football coach, when it comes to X's and O's, game preparation, on-field call making, Art Briles, top notch. I'm glad we judged and weighed the morals as being more necessary than being a good football coach. I'm glad we weighted those two things differently. But this might be the first time this has happened. Like, how bad did this have to be for it to be Art Briles gets released? Because I don't know. Because this is pretty awful. And if this is how awful it had to be for this to happen, it doesn't spell well for other schools going through this, Tennessee, nor does it spell well for any school that might hire Art Briles again. Because, I mean, I feel like the guy's such a good football coach, there's no way he goes unhired forever. Someone would give him another chance somewhere. But I would like to know, if your players get in trouble with stuff, if your players are out there abusing, hurting, traumatizing people, not just women, people in general. If your players are out there doing that, what are you going to do about it? And is winning more important to you than reporting that guy? Okay? You're listening to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio Clutch with Keon Rose, which brings us to our next story. Mississippi State. Mississippi State decides to admit to their university Jeffrey Simmons. Jeffrey Simmons. And this conversation is now here because we have what's happening at Baylor. This kind of violence against women conversation again comes to the forefront of what it is that we do here when we talk about sports and when we have sports shows and when we read sports magazines and the sports podcast, and everybody's got to talk about this. It was a matter of time to see who was going to respond next with their decision making, not with their words, but with their decision making. And it turns out it's Mississippi State. 5-star defensive lineman Jeffrey Simmons enrolled in the school after he was charged in March for simple assault and disrupting the peace after video surfaced on the Clarion Ledger, courtesy of WCBI, of Simmons hitting a woman who was on the ground. Mississippi State could have prevented that. They chose not to. And when you see the video, and it's pretty bad, when you see the video, you realize how could they sign this guy? How could they let that guy be admitted to go to Mississippi State? Because when you hit a woman multiple times, you've got a huge problem on your hands. And I believe one of the coaches described it as just a parking lot fight that got out of control. No, bud. That's not a parking lot fight that got out of control. That's abuse. That is a person that could not control their emotions and control their feelings, and more importantly, could not control their fists, and continue to strike a person smaller than them repeatedly. I mean, and I'm watching the video right now. It is horrifying. It's horrifying. I mean, this stuff, it's disgusting, is what it is. It's gross. I pulled the video up again just to take another look at it. It's a lot of people involved in a parking lot altercation, Jeffrey Simmons included. And the guy's huge. Okay? I mean, he's a 5-star defensive lineman. Defensive linemen are known for anything. It is not being small people. And he's doing a lot of damage. And he should not be allowed to play college football anywhere for that. Just straight up, I wouldn't. You've got the evidence to prove. Okay, this isn't one of those things where it's in doubt and we're not sure. Did he actually do it? Did he not do it? Well, let's just let him admit until we're sure. We're sure. There's video. There's video. Let the courts handle it if you want to go about it that way. And then if we can sign him, we can sign him. But you can't sign a guy who is in a video seen striking a woman multiple times. Because if he did it on video, he'll do it again. He doesn't care. That's scary to me. That's scary. Because this is an open decision of saying to people on the campus of Mississippi State, football is more important than you. And we know this. And we're acknowledging it. There are other people on the campus than just the football players. You know that, right? And the more that we come to an understanding that this stuff is wrong, the more egregious it is to turn a blind eye to it. You can't do that. And I mean, we're coming up to the point now where the general understanding of how you deal with violence against women, we're coming to a consensus about this. But we have always come to the punishment side of this. We're always after the fact. We haven't actually addressed what happens before the fact, where a guy has done something wrong. Because you're not giving him a second chance by letting him play at Mississippi State, regardless of what he's done. Okay, first off, because he's a freshman. So there's no second chance. This is chance one, and it should be taken away. Okay, now if you want to admit the guy and suspend him for a year admit him and let him sit, but that's not what's happening here. You're going to let him play because you want to win. And you're okay with what he did as long as he can help you win. And it's got everything to do with the fact that he's a 5-star. Okay? Because if Buddy was a 3-star recruit, if Buddy was a 2-star, right? He's a 3-star. If he's a 3-star guard, he's not going to Mississippi State. That's too much of a headache. They weighed the risk and the reward and went, okay, signing him is worth the headache because he's really good at football. Which is exactly like saying football is more important than the headache. The headache being all the people talking about violence against women and those women who are now in danger because you've got this nut job walking around on your school. Are you serious? You're listening to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. That's me. Thank you for joining me today, making me just a small part of your day. You know that I appreciate you. Remember, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Stay clutch, and I'll see you in 72 hours. Stick around. Free Talk Live next.